I am Caleb Fielding, and I have a question for you. How do you get people to care for you? There are some people in this world who have great charisma. It seems like everywhere they go, they have friends, they are wanted, and they have great favor. Here's the thing though, if you're around long enough, you will have a conversation with one of these super popular people where they explain that people act like they love them, but when they're not around, they talk about them behind their back. And even though they have great popularity, they wonder, how do they get people to care for them? I have never been a popular person or been shown the favor that some people in my circles have been shown. And at times in my life, I struggled to find anyone who cared for me outside of my mom. Regardless of how I asked this question, it basically came down to this. How do I get people to care for me? Whether you're the supposedly popular person trying to figure this out, or the supposedly unpopular person trying to figure it out, 1 Corinthians 12:25 tells us how we can get this need met in our local churches. It says that there should be no schism in the body, but that the members should have the same care one for another. My understanding of this verse is that as Christians, we should care for one another, other members of our church, as much as we care for ourselves. Obviously, as humans, we are finite. We are limited in what we can do. So we will not be able to care for every member in a church as much as we care for ourselves. But to obey this verse, we should care about at least one person in our church as much as we care about ourselves. If you're listening to this and think that this is very similar to what husbands are told to do in Ephesians 5:28, then I would agree with you. Husbands are commanded to love their wives like they love their own bodies. If they do that, then they're obviously going to care about their wives as much as they care about themselves. Wives are commanded to submit to their husbands, and if they submit, then they are caring for their husbands as much as they care for themselves. Having the same care one for another is a relational need every human has. Married couples get this need met through each other. Minors get this need met through their parents. But as a minor transitions into adulthood, God designed them to step away from their parents. And in this process, they can no longer get this need met through mom and dad. God in His wisdom intentionally did this. Single adults must get this need met through their local church. If we as single adults want others to care for us, we must initiate by caring for others, especially in our churches, and care for them as much as we care for ourselves. If you've never tried to intentionally care for others as much as you care for yourselves, please let your pastor know beforehand that you're trying to obey 1 Corinthians 12:25. And that you're trying to care for other members in his church as much as you care for yourself. Your pastor should know his people well enough to give you a great idea on how to do this process with the most amount of tact. God designed everyone with an inbuilt need to care for other people. If you're not caring for other people, then you're not getting a basic human need met. People who live their lives for only themselves are the most miserable people. And they must turn to drugs, alcohol, and any short-term pleasure they can to drown out the misery they are in. Completely selfish people are emotionally damaged people, but this is the worst-case scenario. If we're to be honest, most people coast through life caring for people only as much as they have to. Chances are, if you're a single adult in a local church, you're serving in some capacity. When I was in Bible college, I served in many different ministries. And when you're serving in a local church, you cannot help but to serve others. Looking back, in all honesty, I really could have cared for the people I served much more. Some of the people I served with took steps to care for me much more than I cared for them, and they received blessings that I never did because of it. If you're a single and you're serving in your local church, I would encourage you to talk with your pastor about how you can care more for those you are serving and care more for those you're serving with. The closer you get to caring for them like you care for yourself, the more of a blessing you're going to get in your life. In John 21, Jesus asked Simon Peter 3 times if Simon loved Jesus. Every time Peter answered and said he loved Jesus, Jesus responded by saying, "Feed my lambs and feed my sheep." Who are the lambs and sheep of Jesus? The local church. If you love Jesus in some way, fashion, or form, you will feed the church. Jesus referred to the church as lambs and sheep throughout his ministry. In the time of Christ, the shepherds did not fence off the sheep from all predators and bring in bags of sheep food. Sheep had to eat in the fields. Once the grass was eaten in a particular field, if the shepherd cared for the sheep, he would move the sheep to a field with lots of grazing available. If the predators attacked, the shepherd would fight off the predators. He would put his body between the sheep and the predators. The shepherd's reward was equal to how much he cared for the sheep. Many times, our reward will be equal to how much we care. Ask yourself this question. Who do you have an opportunity to care for in your local church? Perhaps there's a Sunday school class that needs a teacher. Perhaps there is a retired person that just needs someone to talk to. Perhaps there's a teenager that needs a friend. Maybe it's not the teenager that needs a friend. Maybe it's your pastor. Or for the ladies, your pastor's wife. I'm told that most pastors do not have a close personal friend. Could the singles be the answer to that problem? You have an inbuilt need to care for others. Talk with your pastor about who you can invest time and energy in. If it's your pastor, that's wonderful. If it's someone else, that's wonderful. Here's the thing, God made you with the need to care for others as much as you care for yourself. So who are you caring for? As a single adult, you are going to get that need met in the local church. Yes, on one hand, you have the need to care for others as you care for yourself, but you also, on the other hand, have a need for others to care for you. When you invest time and energy caring for other people, they should respond to your initiative. As a single that faithfully goes to church, it's easy to serve the Lord in many ministries. If you're always serving and never being served, that's a dangerous place to be at. To have the same care one for another demands that you serve others and others serve you. That you care for others and they care for you. This is the definition of a healthy relationship. Give and take. It's not about keeping score. It's not about serving others because you get something in return. Care for others and serving others is a healthy thing for you to do, so you should do it. At the same time, you need others to care for you some. You as an unmarried adult will likely give a lot more than you take, and that's fine. Healthy even. But on some level, you need others to care for you and meet your needs. In John chapter number 6, there are 5,000 men following Jesus because they saw the miracles that Jesus did and how Jesus was healing the sick. Jesus takes note of these people and asks his disciples, how are they going to feed all these people? And his disciples tell him they don't have enough money to feed thousands of people. In the course of the conversation, there's a lad mentioned who has 5 loaves and 2 fishes. He cares enough about Jesus to give Jesus his food. And then Jesus takes that food, that care, and cares for thousands of people. Jesus could have fed those people without the lad's help, because Jesus is God. He could have made manna rain from heaven. But remember, everything Jesus did on earth was an example of what we are to do on earth. The example we need to follow here is that without one person caring for Jesus, Jesus would not have had the opportunity to care for the multitude with loaves and fishes. You should care for other people in your local church, but if nobody else in your local church cares for you, then you're not going to last. That is not to say the first time you begin caring for others that they will respond. It's reasonable to expect this process to take months. That isn't to say that they will ever give you the same amount of care that you give them. For instance, if you decide to care for your pastor as much as you care for yourself, or if you're a lady and decide to care for your pastor's wife as much as you care for yourself, they have so much responsibility on them, they will not be able to return a fraction of the care back to you. In this story, this little boy with the lunch gave everything he had to Jesus. Jesus gave to over 5,000 men, and the boy got a fraction of that. But remember, the boy got back much more than he needed. When you care for others as much as you care for yourself, don't expect others to put into you as much as you put in them. The only expectation you should have is that when they respond to you caring for them by caring for you, is that it will be more than enough to meet your need. In conclusion, you have a need to invest your life into people and care for them as much as you care for yourself. And you have a need for people to in turn to care for you. To get these 2 needs met, you must take the first steps. Thank you for watching this video. The next lesson will be out soon. If you liked it, please share it. If you didn't like it, please leave a comment. Thank you.